Well, it's unbelievable to me what's going on here with the GOP. I mean, if they were they, I don't know, did they have a sense of entitlement? Was it that they felt secure that the economy was because they were obstructing Obama so hard, that nothing that he could do would save the automobile bailout, wouldn't work. I mean, what did they think, that every single thing, Wall Street reform, helping the attorneys general go out and sue these banks and get, judgments against them for deceptive practices, and then turn around and take that money to, give to, people who need the principal reduced or need their interest rates reduced so that they could stay in their homes? Did they think that I remember cash for clunkers was supposed to be a terrible, terrible thing, and of course it worked out to be one of the greatest boons to our auto industry, saving all those people that are involved in the supply chain of the auto industry. Turned out to be a really smart thing too. I mean, what did they think was going to happen that they decided in their piss poor judgment, which is all they have, that they could run on a failed economy, and that it would never improve? Meanwhile, today we find out that the economy grew at a faster pace than we thought. The end of 2011, 3% GDP. October, November, December quarter, the fastest pace of growth since the spring of 2010. It's better than the 2.8% they thought they had. It shows income rose in the second half of last year by more than previously estimated, and that Americans are saving more money than they ever thought we would be able to save, and that we're paying down our debt faster than they ever thought that we would be able to. So we're saving about 5% of our incomes. We're spending, our spending increased by 2.1%. GDP is 3%, the growth, annual growth is 3%. Unemployment rate's been pushed down for 5 straight months to 8.3%. Factories are boosting output. It's been at the highest point in December that it's been all year. The economy hasn't looked this good since the 90s. The stock market closed yesterday above 13,000. What in the world do they have to run on now? And why did they put all their eggs in one damn basket? I guess they thought, since they lost the terrorism argument, that the new argument would be, the entitlement population, because people were on unemployment. I don't know what they thought. I have no earthly, but I'll tell you something. Turns out they don't have that argument either, because the people in the red states are getting more money from the federal government than the people in the blue states, meaning blue states are doing economically much better than red states. And we all pay into the same federal government, and then the federal government gives the states back some of the money. Well, it turns out if you're in South Carolina, for every dollar that you put in, you get back $2.13. But if you live in, New York, for every dollar you put in, you only get back 71 cents. Meaning your money is being redistributed to states that can't seem to figure out how to get into the 21st century. You see what I mean about laying that map over where the entitlement money goes and the red states? It's the same states. I mean, it's incredible to me. Mississippi gets $2.73 back for every dollar it sends to the federal government. Who wouldn't want that deal? The blue states, that's who wouldn't want that deal if we were Republicans. But we think educating kids in Mississippi is just as vital to our national security as we think educating kids in our home states is vital to our national security. That's what makes us different than you. I'm looking at all these states. I know, like, Alabama gets $1.96 back for every dollar it sends. Mississippi gets $2.73 back for every dollar it sends. South Carolina takes $2.13 back for every dollar it sends. West Virginia takes $2.83 back for every dollar it sends. Michigan takes $1.56 back. And yet I'm looking at, that crazy liberal Northeast. They get less than $1 back for every dollar they send in. You got states on the East Coast like Maryland. Is it Maryland? I can't tell. It's just it's a small little sliver there. 30 cents on the dollar it gets back. 30 cents. New Jersey gets back 77 cents. New York gets back 71 cents for every dollar it sends. New Hampshire gets back 83 cents for every dollar it sends. And yet you've got states like Idaho, one of the reddest states, you get $1.61 back for every dollar you send. Arizona, you take $1.60 for every dollar you send. Pretty good deal for you guys. And it's all being paid for, all this redistribution of wealth, it's all being paid for by blue states. With the exception of Texas, because they've got natural resources, and same for Alaska. Alaska gets $1.09 back for every dollar it sends. It still does better than New York. It still does better than New Jersey. It still does better than a lot of other states. It's amazing to me. So, because progressives do believe that kids in rural Alabama should get a really great world-class education and that seniors in Arizona also get their health care, because we believe that what's good for us is good for everybody, and we like to think that if the situation was reversed, you'd help us out. Or we used to think that, but now we've learned our lesson because of your rhetoric. There's a fabulous article today that was written by Sarah Robinson on Alternet, and she's talking about that same article that I was talking about to you, that New York Times article that had a real well understood argument with a map that showed that blue states are generally exporters of money to the federal government and red states are generally importers of money to the federal government. So that's a redistribution of wealth from the blue states to the red states. That's what that article is about. So she wrote, maybe it's time to admit that we've been played for chumps and that there are people in the rest of the country who are taking way too much advantage of our good nature. After all, it's now a stone fact that the blue states and cities are the country's real wealth creators. That's why we pay more taxes and are able to send that money to the red states in the first place. We're working our butts off, being economically productive, going to college, raising good kids, supporting fact-based schools, keeping our marriages together, tending to our busy and diverse cities, and generally playing by the rules. And the fates have smiled on us in rough proportion to the degree that we've invested in our own common good. So we got every right to get good and angry about the fact that, by and large, the people who are getting our money are so damn ungrateful, not to mention so ridiculously eager to spend it on stuff that we don't approve of. We don't ship them our hard-earned tax dollars to see them squander it on worse-than-useless abstinence-only education programs, textbooks that teach creationism, crisis pregnancy misinformation centers, subsidies for crops and oil companies, and so on. And we sure as hell didn't expect to be rewarded for our productivity and generosity with a rising tide of spittled, flecked insanity about how we're just a bunch of immoral, godless, drug-soaked, sex-crazed, evil American-hating traitors who can't wait to hand the country over to the Islamists and the communists. Ironically, the conservative movement's favorite philosopher had some very insightful things to say about this exact situation. You're going to die when she tells you this. Ayn Rand's novels divided the world into two groups. On one hand, she lionized producers, noble, intelligent, Ubermenschen? Okay. Whose faith in their own ideas and willingness to take risks to achieve their dreams drives everything else in society. And she called out the evil of parasites, the dull, unimaginative masses who attach themselves to producers and drain away their resources and thwart their dreams. Conservatives love this story. They're eager to claim the gleaming mantle of the producers, insisting loudly that their tax money is going to support the people, mostly in blue states and cities, it's darkly implied, who won't or can't work as hard as they do. If you want to arouse their class and race resentments, there are a few narratives that can get them rolling, like the producers versus parasites tale. But the New York Times story and that map there prove beyond arguing that the conservative interpretation of events in 100%, 180 degrees is flat out wrong. America's real producer class is overwhelmingly concentrated in the blue cities and states, the regions full of smart, talented people who've harnessed technology and intellect to money and made these regions the best, most forward-looking places in the country to live. And the real parasites are centered in the red states, the only exceptions being states with huge resource reserves like Alaska and Texas. The unimaginative, exhausted places that have clung to a fading past, rejected science, substituted superstition for sense, and refused to invest in their own futures. It's not unfair to say that those regions are simply feasting off the sweat of our ennobling labor and expecting us to continue supporting them as they go about their wealth-destroying ways. And we producers have had enough. Her advice to progressives is to go full Galt. She says, if you're a conservative who thinks Ayn Rand called it true with the producer parasites thing, then by all means, let's go there. All the way there. And then some. But fair warning is in order. You may not like where you end up. By way of a modest proposal, I hereby declare the birth of a new progressive objectivism, a frankly procedurist personal responsibility crusade aimed at getting the whiny red leeches off our collective blue hide. If they think they can get by without us, let us not stand in their way. What these people need from us, at minimum, is tough love, the kind of stern, grown-up verbal whoop-ass the conservatives wouldn't hesitate for a moment to unload on us if the roles were reversed. The time has come for Blue America to go Galt. Our farewell rant, long and epic, as Rand's turgid writing style would have required, might sound a bit like this. First, dear Red Staters, if your town's economy depends on a nearby dam, canal, harbor, airport, military base, interstate highway, national park, or monument, or a prison, just shut the F up, because you are, in every way possible, a parasite living off something the rest of us paid to build. 2, if you're a homeowner and you take the mortgage interest deduction, which is how the rest of us subsidize your house and your status in the middle class, we don't want to hear another word from you about how you made it all on your own. And that goes for you who get your education via the GI Bill or took out an SBA loan or went to a well-funded public school back when such things existed. You are what you are because we believed in you, invested in you, and we are deeply insulted that you refuse to even acknowledge that fact. 3, do not come crawling to us to support those kids you couldn't afford to have but refuse to allow contraception or abortion or fact-based sex education prevent. It's just that simple. Our blue state babies are better off in every way that matters because we plan our families. A failure to plan on your part does not create an obligation on our part. Your policies force women to have kids even when they are patently not ready to have them. And now, as you're so fond of telling women who find themselves unhappily pregnant, you must live with the consequences of your choices. 4th, do not ask us to pay to educate your kids if you are not willing to have us teach them what we know about the world. We believe in free, comprehensive, rigorous, reality-based public education because it's done more than any other government service to make us rich, powerful, and successful, and we want the same for you. There are 3 more things you need to know because we're going to go all Galt on you. Parasites. 49 after.
Randy Rhodes.
Making the world a better place, whether the world wants it or not. This is the Randy Rhodes Show.
Listening to Seattle's Progressive Rock. Now playing online